Yeah. Get high rapper. Man hour. You already know. It's live. It's raw. It's going down. Like I'm going around and letting everybody know that they welcome to the show. It's the littest thing you ever see, you already know. Let me introduce you to your host of the hour. If you Mike and Mike. Yeah, it's the man hour. Got the hottest plays, all the breaking news. Every rumor, every trade, every breaking bruise. Tighten up the screws. Yeah, it's going down. Had you saying what the fuck and never watered down. It's going down. I'll be rolling up. And if you buy it or you sell it, then you made the cut. Watch you flip it back. I can double up. I got sriracha for that ass, I'ma burn it up. Gotta check the rules, know that it be fair foul. Rep throw the whistle, coach throw the towel. We can do this on the field, on side the lines. It's the man hour though, now we going live.
And what is up, everybody? Michael Buckhouse here with the Mike and Mike Man Hour, live, raw, uncut sports talk. Coming on you the Friday edition, Fantasy Friday. But of course, we got to recap Thursday night games first. The Denver Broncos edged out the New York Football Jets 37-28. Tip and myself both had the Broncos winning, we both had the Jets winning this game. So Tip, let's start off right off the bat. And what happened to the New York Football Jets last night?
Man, there was so much that went on in that game. It was really a good game to watch. It was high scoring. There was a lot of action. I thought it was a good game to watch. There were some questionable hits, and then there were some questionable calls that on some of the hits. But I thought Rippon came in and did a great job leading the Broncos. Are we surprised? I don't know. Probably, being that he's the backup to the backup. He had a moment there in the game, a little bit of time there in the game where he kind of, I guess, got rattled and threw a couple of bad passes. That's to be expected from a young kid. But in all honesty, man, he showed his stuff and he played his game, and he did a really swell job leading that team. Actually, Gordon helped a whole lot. The running game helped a whole lot. Yeah. It was the running game, and then the Jets are a mess, man. They're offensive. They got offensive line problems. They got running game problems. They have so much. Darnold doesn't have anybody to throw to. You can't blame it all on Darnold. I don't know if the coach gets it. They're just in bad shape. That's really what happened last night. It was a classic game between two 0-3 teams.
Well, I think the Denver Broncos are probably one of the best 0-3 teams out there. They could easily string 6 to 7 wins in a row here, and then all of a sudden be in playoff talk. So once they get Drew Lock back and maybe some receivers start to step up a little bit more, the Denver Broncos are right there, and they are a sleeper pick for the season for a reason because they are right.
Well,
there.
They have a good defense. They have a good defense. They have a good defense that can carry them.
Yeah, and then just to add to your point there about the rushing game, a lot of Melvin Gordon's yards came on that with about 2 minutes left in the game when he broke that 40-yard run for a touchdown, I believe it was. And
he had a couple of good runs, though. I think he had one for like 20 at the beginning of the game, 16 or 19, 20, something like that. He had some good sustainable runs.
Yeah, but of course, those big long runs add up yards quickly, and I'm a firm believer that I think Melvin Gordon is probably the most overhyped running back in the league behind Todd.
You may be right.
Gurley.
Agreed.
So speaking on this game, the reason why I was picking the New York Jets to win this game was because the Broncos didn't name a starting quarterback till Monday night, so you had literally 1 day to practice. You had a day to fly out to New York. And so, all those receivers that he was throwing to, most of them were for the first time that game. So that's really what surprised me on that. That catch by Jerry Jeudy that I believe was the first touchdown of the game. Still not
sure how you caught that.
Yeah, it was a highly underthrown ball. Jared Jeudy just mossed the guy, perfect coverage, and it was a perfect storm. Mike Reese says, "Happy Friday, happy to you Friday as well." Mike Reese,
happy Friday, brother.
Yeah, brother from Twist. So if you guys are on Facebook tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Time. Head over to Twist, and they got a great interview. It is a Houston Texans writer. Her name slipping my mind right now, but they got a great interview lined up with her on Saturday afternoon. So Matt Benz was on here yesterday, and he said, and he picked the Broncos to win. I'm giving him all the props in the world. I mean, he picked that game outright. I believe he even said it was going to be a shootout too, which it kind of like the score kind of reflects a shootout, like a little bit.
His score was 21-9. That's what he had.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But then he also said that after the Jets lose, they're going to fire Adam Gase after the season. Yeah. Reports are starting to surface that the Jets are not going to fire Adam Gase. I mean, like, they have publicly said that they're not going to fire Adam Gase. So that tells me that they're probably thinking about firing Adam Gase. Mm-hmm. Does Adam Gase make it through next week?
Who knows with the Jets? I mean, the way the game is played today, the way management is run today, I would have to say that he's probably gone. But then again, there's always the loyalty factor, and somehow this guy gets in somewhere and stays places that he's not welcome and he's not wanted, and he stays way longer than what he should have and wears out.
He is not welcome and wanted by the fan base. However, the ownership wants him because he's still there, obviously.
Yeah, but you got to take the fan base into consideration, because the fan base is what's going to drive your team. So if you don't have the fans, there's a lot of revenue you lose there. So at some point you have to say, okay, I got to do, if the fans are complaining this much and this guy is this bad in both places he's been, there has to be something to that. Let me take a look at this. And I think he's got I look at the guy and he's just a mess. Now I think he's a great defensive coach. And I think he could go somewhere and coach defense and just leave it at that. Kind of like Josh, what's his name at New England does for the offense. He coaches the offense and he leaves it at that. He went for a head coaching job a couple years ago, got out of it, came back to New England and has been, and he does wonders with offense. And there's just some coaches that are better at certain things in football. Everybody's not meant to be a head coach. So Adam Gase tried it in 2 places now. He's not succeeded. I think he would be better off going back somewhere, being a defensive coach. And I do think the Jets get rid of him. But then again, I saw something on Facebook earlier that was kind of funny. And it was somebody had said the suggestion was leave him there just so he can go through the misery with them, so he can be a part of that. Yeah. Yes. And, so I don't know, but if management does get rid of him, who do they get? I mean, who's really out there right now that you could hire this part of the season? You really would just have an interim
Jason
coach.
Garrett.
But he's not going to come over in the middle of the season like that. I doubt a quarter into the season he would.
Me and the Giants are 0-3, and the Giants are probably out of it.
He's a loyal guy, though. Jason Garrett's a loyal guy. He's very loyal to who he's working for. And I just don't see him leaving a quarter, 25% into the year when he's going from one situation that's bad basically to another situation is bad. And the only thing that's good about the whole deal is that you stay in New York. So other than that, I'm not really sure that he would do it. And they would probably just get an interim coach and they would leave it at that the rest of the year. And then they would do his coach a search, and all that, you know how the deal goes. And they're just a mess, man. They're just – I don't know that you can come in this part of the season right now and really even turn them around. I don't think that you could. I think you could make a difference, but playoffs, you probably just could go for an 8-8 record and probably do good with that. That's just
if I am the Jets ownership right now, I am not looking to turn around the season like right now whatsoever. I am looking to build for next season. So that is why I would bring in a coach now and try to build it for next season.
Okay.
And then just to add to your point about the and then just to add to your point about the New England coach Josh McDaniels, I believe he was offered he offered and accepted the Green Bay Packer coaching job before Matt LaFleur did, but then something said and said, hey, he is going to go back. So we have a question come across. If you have a question,
to that was is if you're good at offense or you're good at defense, stick with that. Everybody's not cut out to be a head coach.
All right, so Coach Tip, we have a we have a question for you. So as soon as the question comes across the screen, I will get that question asked for you. But for the rest of the show, guys, this is week 4 of the NFL season. We will be breaking down each game. I will be telling you why each team is going to win. We're going to pick our winners, and then Coach Tip is going to tell you which fantasy player to sit or bench from that game as well. So moving forward here,
guys, I'm gonna attempt to. That.
No, he is. Yeah. If you guys want to win, you want to listen to his advice.
Oh boy, way to put me out on Front Street, bro.
But guys, we're going to take a quick little break. After the break, we're going to break down week 4 of the NFL season. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckheisel with Coach Tip here today.
What's up?
What's up? Few weeks. Tip, I am not going to ask you the question that came across the screen because it is really inappropriate. If that person would kindly remove himself from the feed, that'd be awesome. But Kenny James came across the screen here. Let's go ahead and ask this question for you real quick. Who would you start this week at quarterback, Goff, Stafford, or Minshew?
Oh, I would go Goff all day and every day, twice on Sunday right now. Yeah, I think Goff has he's got the better team. He's got the better receivers, better coaching. Better situation all the way around. Goff all the way. And he produces. So.
Right. So I would not start Matthew Stafford versus the New Orleans Saints this week by any means, even though they are at home. But it would, if to like me, it is kind of a toss up between Goff and Minshew, because Minshew is playing the Cincinnati Bengals. However, they are traveling to Cincinnati, and Jared Goff is at home taking on the Giants. I believe Goff is in the top 10 as far as scoring fantasy point wise as quarterback position, and Minshew is like right there behind you. So I'm going to go
Goff
with.
Is at home against the Giants, though. I mean,
yeah. So the Giants' defense is suspect at best right now. Cincinnati is a highly underrated team because they have Joe Burrow in there. The week 1 they lost on a last second touchdown incomplete pass call. Week 2 they lost by a field goal. Week 3 was like a tie. So I think the Bengals are going to be right there, but their defense is kind of suspect. So if it is basically what defense do you have less faith in? Is it the Cincinnati defense or is it the Giants defense? And I'm going to have to go with the Giants defense. I don't like the Giants at all this year, 100%. So I'm going to say Jared Goff as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the pick'ems and the fantasy tips for this week. And let's just start it off. Game 1, we have the Indianapolis Colts traveling to the Chicago Bears. Who do you got this week, Tip?
I really want to root for the Colts, but something's telling me that the Bears are going to pull this out. I'll go for the upset and go with the Bears. As much as I want to say Colts, I'll go for the upset and go with the Bears.
I would call it an upset, the Bears. I mean, it's definitely not an upset because the Bears are 3-0.
They are, but they might be the worst 3-0 team I've ever watched. But they are 3-0, and who knows now that Montgomery's getting, now that he's going, and you got Foles in, who's a steady presence. Miller seems to be his guy. You got Jimmy Graham that's starting to come along, kind of creep up. His pass just creeping up for him a little bit. Mm-hmm. He's kind of showing his old self when he was with the Seahawks. So I'm going to go ahead and say the Bears. And I think the Bears may have a little bit better defense also. And I know the Colts have a stout defense, but I think the Bears may be better. And I'm going to pick the Bears.
Okay, and then I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts 100% on this game. They have had a week to prepare for Nick Foles. That's the only reason why Foles came back in that game versus the Atlanta Falcons next week, because the Falcons defense was not prepared for a quarterback like Foles. Mitchell Trubisky and Foles are two different quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
One stretches the pocket, one tries to stay in the pocket. Two different quarterbacks there. The Colts defense is highly underrated. They had 2 pick six last week, scoring me 28 points in fantasy when I picked them up off of the street, which I was very, very impressed with that. Phillip Rivers has another week in this Indianapolis Colts offense. Yes, their running back Mack is out this week, but they still have T.Y. Hilton. The Indianapolis Colts are going to run the ball up and down the field on the Chicago Bears and pass when needed. I can see them rushing the ball for 30-plus times in this game and throwing the ball for 26 times. Like that's the kind of ground and pound game it is going to be. Final score is going to be 15-10. Indianapolis Colts going into Soldier Field. Give me 2 players to watch this week in fantasy, Tip.
In this game, I'm going to have to go. I think I'm going to have to go with who I already mentioned. It's David Montgomery. I like David Montgomery. His running game is really coming along. You know, he was picked to be a top 10 to 15 back at the beginning of the season in fantasy and in the NFL. He kind of got stymied at the beginning of the season, like Trubisky. And so I'm going to say David Montgomery is the hot pick for Chicago in fantasy. And then I'm going to pick – now I've got 2 players here that I want to – I'm going to go slash here. I'm going to go Taylor. He's almost kind of an obvious chalk pick. And then I'm going to go Mo Alley-Cox. And he's coming along as a tight end. He's big. He's tall. And Phillip Rivers loves his tight ends and his running backs.
Yes.
And so I'm going to go with Mo Alley-Cox. And actually, I don't really have anyone to sit for Chicago other than Mitchell Trubisky. But if I had someone to sit for Indianapolis, I might sit Hilton. I may sit Hilton.
Yeah, that's definitely a good.
He hasn't produced much lately. So,
right. I believe he only has 3 catches in the last 3 games, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think it doesn't seem like him and Rivers have a good connection. So, I'm going to say sit him. If you've got another player to put in your wide receiver slot or your flex, put him in there. But take him out of there and put someone else in. But.
And then just to add to your point there on the defensive side of the ball, I would start neither of these defenses this week. I don't anticipate any pick sixes, any punt returns, and it's going to be a lot of yardage like on the ground.
See, I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. I think it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 24-17 or 24-21, something in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Tip has the Bears, and I got the Colts. I'm going to be 1-0 after the first game. Moving on to the second game, you had the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Who do you got in this one?
I'm going to say the Bengals. I know Jacksonville has Chark coming back, and he says he practiced, and he says he's ready to go. But we'll see. I know him and Minshew have a great connection, so look out for that. But I'm going to say Cincinnati. Like you said, they're an up-and-coming team. You named 2 running backs earlier who you thought were overrated, and I'm going to add one more to it, and I think it's Joe Mixon. I think he's hugely overrated, along with David Johnson of the Texans. I think they're both just way overrated. But anyway, if Burrow will get the ball in the flat to Mixon more than he does, if he'll use Mixon more, and if the running game's not working, Mixon, great flat receiver. He'll catch the ball. He's got good hands, and he's a good receiving back. So if you can get the ball to him, you've got Boyd. You know, you mix in, Green in there, and then you've got the young kid Higgins. And I'm going to take Cincinnati in a shootout. I'm going to pick Cincinnati, and I'm going to say 35-31.
Okay, and so right off the bat, I'm going to pick Cincinnati as well. Kenny James asked earlier, which quarterback would you pick? And I put a toss-up between Gardner Minshew and Jared Goff. And I'm going to go back to everything that I said on on that 100%. I do not like Gardner Minshew whatsoever. I don't know what this fascination is with the jockstrap king or whatever the hell people are calling him. Like, yes, he is a good quarterback. Is he a great? Hell no. He is not a good or like he is not a top 2 or top tier quarterback. He's a tier 3 quarterback in this league.
Agree.
And like I just don't understand the fascination with this guy. Like I hate this guy. The more I watch him, I wish he would like fall and get turf toe. So I'm picking the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Joe Burrow is going to get his first win. Mike LeBlanc is going to throw a big party because he says Joe Burrow is going to be the greatest quarterback in the NFL in 3 or 4 years. And this game is going to show it. Joe Burrow consistently improving week in and
yes, he is
week out, getting his team a little bit closer. And he tied last week. This is the week he gets in the win column. Moving on to the next game,
I agree with you.
Probably one of the biggest games.
You got a score for that game?
I'm going to go 42-35.
Woo,
high scoring game.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's high. Yeah. High.
Defense is optional in this game.
Agreed.
So moving on to the next game.
Stream any of these. Don't stream either one of these defenses. Leave these alone today. Leave these defenses alone today.
100%. So you next
100%.
game up, you have the Cleveland Browns take on the Dallas Cowboys at Cowboy Stadium. Jerry World, who do you got in this one?
I'll take the Cowboys. They're at home. I know Cleveland is coming on a little bit here lately. And actually, OBJ is one of the receivers picked to start and not sit in today's game, which hasn't been the case for him in quite a while. But I'm going to pick the Cowboys. I believe this is another high-scoring game. Defense is also optional in this game. And I think this game could get up in the 30s, possibly low 40s also. And I'm going to take – I think Dallas is at home. In all honesty, across the board, they've got the better team. I think.
Right.
I think. But, we'll see what Cleveland does with the running game and how that works. You got 2 backs to 1 back for Dallas. So, but then you've got better receivers for Dallas than you do for Cleveland. So it almost evens out, but I'm going to take Dallas another shootout.
Yeah, you dropped the name Odell Beckham Jr. You want another overrated player in all of NFL? Odell Beckham
right
Jr.
There.
What has he done besides the catch, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he hasn't done anything since then. Yes, he had pretty stable seasons first 3-4 years in New York. Exactly.
A lot of chaos wherever he's been.
And like now he is actually on the IR report with like back spasms like as well. Yeah. People are saying that he's just on there for precautionary reasons, yada yada yada. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to milk that and he's going to have a shit game versus this very suspect secondary of the Dallas Cowboys. With all that being said, Mike LeBlanc is going to hate me for this, but I think Dak Prescott is going to tear that Cleveland Browns defense apart. You are going to see CeeDee Lamb take massive steps in this game.
Agreed.
You aren't going to see a lot out of Amari Cooper. You are not going to see a lot out of the other
Gallup.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb and Zeke are the targets this week. They're going to get a lot of work. Dak Prescott is going to really push the ball to the middle of the field and in the flats too, like Zeke. The Cowboys win this game 24-17 and a last-second drive by Dak Prescott to win the game.
So you think Dak is going to win on a last-second drive?
I do. So earlier in this year, me and Mike LeBlanc both said that Dak Prescott was going to be sitting by week 4 or week 5. Now that we're going into week 4, he played good against the Seahawks. Let's be honest. He played good against the Rams.
He plays great during the game. It's at the end of a game when he has to have a last-second drive that he can't seem to put anything together. And that's what I was talking today when I said, he threw the same pass 3 times. It's like, come on, man, you've got several weapons. You haven't used Zeke really the whole game.
Right.
It's almost like he gets tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And he focuses on one, he did that last year, I think, in the game against him to make the playoffs. He did the flat. I think it was to Ezekiel Elliott where he came out and went out into the flat. He did it 3 times in a row, and and neither time would have even made a first down. So I love Dak fantasy wise. I do, because I've got him. I had him last year, and I had him as he was my keeper. I've got him now, and he is a fantasy. Like I said, fantasy gold. He scores points, but at the end of a game, you can't trust him. You just can't trust him. So for you to say he's going to make a last second drive to win the game, man, I got to see it before I believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you were going to see it Sunday at 4:05 Eastern time. You will see Dak.
Yeah,
all the games are going to turn over to the Fox station, and we're going to be seeing it 100%. Moving on to the next 1 o'clock game here on Fox, you had the New Orleans Saints traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions. Who do you got in this one?
I'm going to just because they're the better team on paper, and Detroit is. I'm going to take the Saints because they're the Saints because they're a better team on paper across the board. Detroit is still kind of in a rebuilding mode. They're still trying to find their team back. Galladay he's either hurt. When he's in the game, he produces, he'll get you maybe 10, 15, 18 points a game if he's doing well. Marvin Jones Jr., who I have on my team, he hasn't made a difference. I think he's had one halfway decent game thus far. They don't have much of a running game. AP is kind of just a fill-in. I like Stafford. I just always wish he had a better team around him. So just for all those reasons, I'm going to go ahead and take the Saints. And I think today a guy you got to pick up in play is Sanders. I think today might be the day that Sanders finally has a breakout game. Detroit they're suspect in their backfield and their cornerbacks and safeties. They got a pretty defensive line. I know they have the one defensive back that's really good for them, but he might have a good game today and then next week not. So all of that being said, I think I'm going to go with the Saints. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if today was the day that Detroit got their win for the year. And, their win for the year, for the season.
Okay, we will circle that and address it later in the year. But just to clarify what you are talking about, you were talking about the Sanders, the wide receivers for the Saints, because I believe Michael Thomas is still out this week as well.
He did start practicing this week.
So we will see if Michael Thomas does get in there, but I don't anticipate it.
Probably won't play this week. No, I doubt it very seriously.
Now, just to take everything that you said and flip it around on you. Yes, the Saints are better on paper.
They are.
Yes, the Saints are better in Madden. Yes, the Saints are better in fantasy football, but this is real life football played between white lines on turf. The Detroit Lions win this game because Detroit's a very, very tough place to play.
There's the homer pick. There's the homer pick.
Yes, there are going to be no fans in the stands. I was there when the Kansas City Chiefs went to Detroit Lions last season, and the Chiefs struggled that game. We didn't get beat. We won on the last second drive. But it's a very
Kansas
hostile
City
crowd. Yeah. No, they won. Kansas City won.
But they beat you all on the last second drive. Yeah. You all had them beat. Detroit had them beat.
I'm a Kansas City fan. Yeah, well, yeah. But,
I thought you were a Detroit fan. Aren't you from Detroit?
No,
I thought
from
you were from Detroit. Okay.
No, but the Lions beat the Saints this week because they have a better overall team on the field. Matthew Stafford is a great leader. Adrian Peterson has been there, done that. He's going to get.
They are. Okay.
They beat a very, very good Arizona Cardinal team last week at Arizona. They're going to come. They're going to come home, take that same recipe of beating the Arizona Cardinals, because the Arizona Cardinals and the Saints are the same. They are the same team. It's just one is 40 years old and one's 20
one is
years
old.
old.
More experienced.
Yeah. So with that being said, they have time to fine tune that game plan like a little bit and beat the Saints, and they beat them soundly. 28-13 is the final score in that game. I'm picking the Lions.
See, I think Saints have been. I think they've been hearing the talk, and I think they're going to play. I think Jenkins and those cornerbacks are going to play tonight. I think they're going to have a good game tonight.
We will see. Only time will tell. Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock is that game, East Coast time. Moving on to the next one, probably the biggest trap game of the week, in my opinion. You have the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Who do you got?
I'm going with my Dolphins. I got to go with my Dolphins. Number one, like I've said before, I'm an odds guy. So if I'm playing the odds, Seattle has won 3 games close, and they've basically had to do it by just gunslinging. I'm not sure you can keep that up all year, although Fitz is a gunslinger. So now you've got a game this game could easily be in the 40s and above. I mean, it could go down to the end, to a field goal or a last second play. On paper, we're going to say on paper again, Seattle's got the better team. Miami is, we finally got a good coach. We're finally coming into our own. We've got some good young talent. Gesicki is a good tight end. I think he's going to be really good. And by the way, I like Hawkinson for Detroit, and people should play him tonight because the Saints, it's either the third or the fifth most. They give up the third or the fifth most points to tight ends thus far this season. So, and Hawkinson is a good up and coming tight end himself. So Miami's got that was a side note there. Miami's got Gesicki, Gaskins. He's a great receiving running back. Not a great runner, but he's in for like 70% of the snaps. So right. He's great dump off, play action. The question mark with Miami's offense is going to be Williams and Parker. If those guys can stretch the field and they'll catch the ball, Fitz will get them the ball. If that can happen, because Seattle's secondary is suspect. So I'm going to take the Dolphins, and I'm going to say this is a shootout again. And I'm going to say the Dolphins win, let's say 48-41 Dolphins.
Now you kind of took my thunder a little bit.
Yeah, the defense isn't great for the Dolphins. It's mediocre, but it's not great. It's about like Seattle, so they're going to give up some points.
Yeah, Seattle Seahawks defense has definitely been suspect at best this season so far. And you kind of took my thunder a little bit here because I'm picking the Miami Dolphins as well because of exactly everything that you said. Plus, you have to realize the travel that they're doing. They are doing a 1 o'clock game on the East Coast. Seattle is on the West Coast. Their bodies are acclimated to about 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning. Like at the time, they're going to look sluggish. It is a long flight. It's coast to coast, north to south. That's probably a 6 or 7 hour flight. I'm not for sure how long it is.
Oh, but that's easily 3,500 miles, easily.
Yeah, so they're going to be a little jet lagged.
Two things. It's going to be warm, so that helps in Miami. The second thing is the Seahawks do have Russell Wilson, so we never count him out.
Now, with all that being said, I want to go with the Dolphins. I really do. But since you went with the Dolphins, so far your picks, I'm not trusting any of them whatsoever.
Okay. Right.
So I'm going to go with the Dolphins. Right. I think the Dolphins upset the Seahawks this week. I think
so.
And they're going to be the talk of the town moving forward here, guys. But it is that time. We got to take another quick little break for AllAccessSportsNetwork.com, guys. We'll be right back here on the Mike and Mike Man Hour.
Good Lord. 35 minutes.
Guys, and welcome back to the Mike and Mike Man Hour, guys. If you haven't yet already, head over to MikeandMikeManHour.com and pick yourselves up a t-shirt, hat, or a hoodie. They're on sale right now till the end of the week. Next week, I should say, end of next week, 20% off all t-shirts and hoodies over there at the MikeandMikeManHour.com. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and share this with a couple of friends. Also, guys, on the Facebook page, we have officially hit the 500 like mark on the Facebook page. So once LeBlanc gets back, October 13th is when he comes back. We will be giving away that $100 Amazon gift card. So we're giving you guys still time to register for that. All you have to do is like the Facebook page and share a live feed to get entries into that Amazon gift card giveaway. So, Tip, we have gone about halfway through the lineup here, and just to recap some of the games or some of the picks that like you have done so far, you had the Bears over the Colts, you had the Bengals over the Jaguars, Cowboys over the Browns, Saints over the Lions, and Dolphins over the Seahawks. I had the Colts, Bengals, Cowboys, Lions, and Dolphins so far in our picks this week 4 of the NFL season. Moving on to the next game,
the closest one I got there that I could flip would be the Lions and the Saints. I could go either way on that game.
Which you probably should, because if you want to get picks right, you got to follow me.
I can't go the same as you now. I got to stay with the Saints now. I can't backtrack. Yeah,
but the next game here on the list, we have the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs. Who do you got? I'm
going to take the Bucs, and I got to look out for in this game to sit is probably going to be Fournette. Boy, am I disappointed in this guy. I picked him up. I traded him earlier in the season, probably the first game or so. In our keeper league next year, I gave up one of my top picks for him because I really thought that he was going to blossom, man. I thought he was going to do some things, and he's
a third or fourth receiver running back on that league, though, or on that team.
I know he's got one good game. And I wonder if part of it is the coaching. And why I say that is because are they not saying, okay, Jones, you're the back. Fournette, you're the back. I think even when you have a dual back, somewhere in the midst, I even believe this with Chubb and Hunt for Cleveland. I think somewhere in the mix, you got to say, okay, you're 1 or 2. Because unless you have a really good team, a really mature team, and good coaching that knows how to use those 2 backs, and you can keep satisfied and keep the team happy and winning and all that.
All right, so guys, it looks like we have lost Tip a little bit here. He is frozen on the screen here.
Uh-oh.
There you go. Now we got him back. There you are. Go ahead.
Cool. All right, where was I at? Okay,
I'm not for sure.
The 2 back deal. The 2 back deal. I just think Tampa Bay should say, okay, Leonard, you're our guy, so we're going to start running you. And I think if they did that, his production would pick way up. But they're kind of flip-flopping right now, and I'm not sure what Leonard's got going. I think if Leonard would say, hey, man, I want the ball, they'd give him the ball. He's a great back. He's been a top 10 back for the last 3 years since he's been in the league. And it's a shame to see him going, but stay away from him this week. Plus, he had an ankle injury, and I believe he's out anyway. But I'm going to pick Tampa Bay. They're at home. Again, like you said, the travel is a long way. That's a long way for the Chargers to go. Now, the warm weather is either place, so that's not going to affect them, but the travel could. But I'm going to pick Tampa Bay. I think they have the better team. They have the more experienced quarterback, and as you know, Brady usually likes to pick apart these young guys. But I think the Chargers will have a much better shot if they play Herbert. He needs to stay where he's at, and I believe he's going to be a really good quarterback very, very soon. He already is a good quarterback, but I think he's going to be really great. He has all the tangibles. He has everything that you could want in a quarterback. So, but I'm going to pick a player you could pick up in that game and be Eckler. I think he's going to do well. Tampa Bay doesn't do well against running backs, but I think Tampa Bay has the better secondary. I think they have the run defense for the most part. Run defense, not running receiving defense. Just running the ball defense. And I think they just have the better, more experience, and I'm going to pick Tampa Bay in this. But I will say it could be a shootout, let's say 28-24, somewhere in that range, 31-28, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I am picking the Bucs as well, all for the same exact reasons that you said, and the fact that the travel. Anytime the team travels from West Coast to East Coast and they play that 1 o'clock game, they lose 85% of the time. Mm-hmm. And as Triple Shot Sports jumps on the show here, Brandon Coombs says Coombs is better than I am, but just remember 12 is always greater than 9 in the end. So moving on to the next game here, we have
and by the way, Ravens Godwin is out
to Washington. Yeah, he is out.
He is out.
So moving on to the next game, we hear at the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Washington football team in DC. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Baltimore all day on this. For one, Baltimore has a great secondary. They've got a great defense, period. And the Washington, it's very difficult for me to get used to saying Washington football team. But that being said, they've only got really one threat. That's McLaurin. You take him away, Washington doesn't have a whole lot. I don't know what Gibson does today, really.
And as Tips gets frozen again, guys, Tip took the Ravens, and then I am going to take. Yep, you're back. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. No, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay, yeah. So
Baltimore in a landslide.
And that is 100% wrong because Washington football team is going to win this game. The Ravens are still licking their wounds from the Chiefs loss, and they're looking forward to the next week. They're looking over the Washington football team, as many teams are, but the Washington football team is leading that NFC East division at a 1-3
Jeez,
record.
Hey, you and me could put a football team. Your middle school team or high school team could beat, them. So
you guys are overlooking the Washington football team. They have a top 5 defense over there. They have Chase Young. Their front seven is killer. And what beats the Baltimore Ravens?
No, Chase Young he's out.
Seven.
He's still out with his hamstring.
Is he out officially?
He's out officially with his hamstring, I believe.
Then with that, I got to change over to the Ravens.
You double check that. Don't make me a liar, but I'll double check right now for you. I believe I heard that the other day.
Okay, so I am changing my pick to the Ravens if Chase Young is out, because the front seven is the most important part of the defense, and against the Baltimore Ravens is containing Lamar Jackson in the pocket, making him throw the ball, and that is how you beat the Ravens. Or just play
Chase Young. It says here Chase Young likely to miss Ravens game with groin strain, so it's not a hammy or groin.
All right, so I am picking the Ravens in this game. Moving on to the next one, we have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Who do you got?
I'll take Arizona in this one. I know it's quite of a haul for them to get across the country again, but I'm going to take them. I think Carolina, a player I'd probably sit in this game would be DJ Moore. He hasn't produced much lately. Him and Bridgewater don't seem to have much of a connection at all. The Mike Davis he's starting to kind of feel himself and smell himself a little bit, so to speak. So he's complaining now. Now there's some dissension within Carolina. So Carolina looks to me like they're a train wreck waiting to happen. And I think Arizona bounces back this week and goes over there and handles their business and puts a smashing on them. I don't even think it'll be a game.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I think Arizona goes into Carolina despite the travel. They are traveling the West Coast to the East Coast to play that 1 o'clock.
They're young, man. They're young, but they can handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm not worried about handling it. I'm worried about the Carolina head coaching situation. Rookie head coach coming off his first win, kind of inflated his ego a little bit, I think, and I think they're going to get absolutely demolished by the Cardinals this week. 42-7 is the final score.
They're I think Carolina's in a rebuilding situation, getting ready to be in a rebuilding situation. But I got a question: Did the Bridgewater signing there seem kind of just out of place to you also? Or is it just me that thought that was an odd signing, Bridgewater?
I think Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback.
I think so too.
He's on the cusp of being great, to be honest. If he was still in Vikings, I think the Vikings may have won a Super Bowl by now with the team that they have now.
Possibly.
with Teddy Bridgewater there. He has kind of gotten the short end of the stick in Minnesota. Kind of got the short end of the stick and a Saints after he played those 3 or 4 games straight. Carolina needed a quarterback because they were finished with a Cam, and let's be honest, Teddy Bridgewater was probably the best free agent quarterback out there, like at the current time. Like you had the option between Jameson, Teddy Bridgewater, and the Chargers starting quarterback.
Rivers?
Tyrod Taylor. No, Tyrod.
Oh, Taylor.
So I think Teddy Bridgewater was the best option out there, and he was best, and he knows his role. Like, hey, we are going to be kind of down this year. Do do what you can. Just don't hurt yourself because we need you for next year. And I think he's the perfect fit. Also has a rookie head coach, so he can really help
they can grow together
along.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So
that's fair take.
With that being said, speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, they are next traveling to Texans to take on the Houston Texans. Who do you got?
Can we just skip over this one? I mean, really? Can we just move right on past this garbage game? I mean, this is kind of the Charles Barkley thing, on Inside the NBA when he says, do we really have to watch the highlights of this game? I mean, do we really have to talk about this game? I'll take Houston just because they're at home. I mean,
this is going to be a good
by
game.
default, I'll take Houston. It could turn out to be. Sometimes you'll have a garbage game like this on paper that it turned out to be a really good game to watch. I mean, I think the Jets-Broncos game last night was a decent game to watch.
Yeah, it was a very good game to watch.
I thought it was a pretty good game to watch. But so, you got Deshaun Watson. I mean, I don't really have to say much about him. Yeah, but he's got no help. I thought Cooks was going to come there and make a difference. He hasn't done much. It's kind of like the Bridgewater Moore thing. There hasn't been a real connection. Your running game is very suspect. You signed David Johnson, but he's had one decent game, and so I don't really know about Houston. Is just a mess. Also, O'Brien's another one. Dimple Chin needs to probably be relieved of his duties and.
3 years ago on that one.
Yeah, it should have been a long time ago. And then you got the Vikings, who we spoke about yesterday with Benz, and it's both teams are a mess, both organizations are a mess, but it'll probably turn out to be the game of the week. I'll pick Houston by default just because they're at home.
You kept talking down on the Houston Texans, but look who they played to start the season.
I give them, but they're not that good of a team.
They are a good team. They're going to make the playoffs as a wild card. They're going to go 8-8 to finish out the season, and they're going to rip off.
We should have skipped over this game.
They are going to rip off 6 wins in a row right here, starting with the Minnesota Vikings. They're going to rip off six wins in a row, starting with the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings are going to realize, oh shit, we're stuck with Kurt No Dick Cousins for the next 3 years. Why do we sign this guy? But the Vikings still going to get 5 wins.
But Houston doesn't have defense either. They've got a couple of good linebackers, but they don't have any great defense. They don't have
doesn't matter. Look at that Houston Texans offense. Look at that Houston Texans offense.
And that's why I said they're at home by default. I'll pick Houston because I think maybe they might be a little better a team, but they're not that good of a team, and I don't see them making the playoffs.
I put their receiver core as a top 5 receiver core in all of NFL.
Oh wow.
Okay, the Kansas City Chiefs have a better receiver core than them, yes. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yes. Seattle Seahawks, yes. And then 4 and 5, it gets kind of dicey. You can put Arizona up there, maybe, or like the Dallas Cowboys, but then it's
Dallas has to be up there. They've got a great receiving core. Dallas does.
But then it's Houston. I mean, they have Randall Cobb, they have Fuller, they have Cooks. I mean, they have 3 or 4 big name receivers there that are going to handle things.
They do, but they don't do anything. I mean, Cooks. Okay, Cobb is old, and he comes from my neck of the woods. He's a Kentucky Wildcat, and he comes from my neck of the woods, and but he's old, and he had a good game last week, but that doesn't mean he'll have a good game this week in the slot. And then he doesn't have to have a good game every week.
They have 4 incredible receivers there that can pick each other.
Fuller only. He might show up, he might not. Cooks hasn't been there all season. He had one average game, I think, the second game of the year.
He had no OTAs, no training camp.
I know, but Fuller is a second-tier receiver at best.
Second-tier receiver.
He's not even. I don't even think he's in the top 20.
You might be right. I mean, I can take a bunch of 15, 16 ranked wide receivers in all of the league, put them together, and then put him with a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. That puts him in the top 5 receiver core of all of NFL.
Okay, that's fair enough, but they're not getting the ball. They're not getting – Stills is a no-show. He's been a no-show all year. Stills has been a no-show all year.
Because of the defense that they've been playing against.
Okay, that's possible.
Next 6 weeks.
I will give you this. I will say, okay, I'll take back the garbage statement, and I will say this. If they get their receiving core going, If David Johnson can get them 70, 80 yards a game, maybe a touchdown every couple games or so, and they have Cooks gets going, which frees up some space for Fuller, and they get this whole thing going by midseason, I think I can give you that they could be a top 5 receiving core. But as of right now, they have yet to put it together.
After this game, only time will tell. But the Houston Texans beat the Vikings. We both had that game. Moving on to a garbage game here. The Giants take on the Los Angeles Rams. Who do you got?
I'll take the Rams. That's moving on.
Yeah. The Rams 100%. I mean,
do we have to say anything about this? I mean,
the Giants are a train wreck like at this point now. Moving on to the next game, the game that
although I do think the Giants are – I do think they're up and coming, and I think if the coaching works out right, they have talent there. They have talent.
Up and coming to the bottom seller of the division.
No. You get Barkley back, and then you get Danny Dimes working with a couple of good receivers steady. You get him a decent tight end that can relieve some pressure and block for Barkley and his quarter. I tell you what, they have the makings. Let's just say they had the makings.
So
to be atop the NFC East with Dallas.
So they need a receiving core. They need coaching.
No. They got a receiving core. No, they've got Shepard. They've got Slayton. They've got Ingram. They have got a receiving core. They had Barkley before he was injured. You know, is Danny the quarterback there? But I do think that they have the makings to be. They have the makings to win the NFC East if they put it next year.
That's a stretch there. But moving on to the next game, we have the New England Patriots traveling to Arrowhead Stadium to take on my Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you got?
Man, this is a tough one. It really is. Let me just start off by saying you never, ever bet against Belichick. Never, ever bet against him.
Home.
Yeah, I'll have to say the Chiefs. I have to go with the Chiefs. I just don't know how you slow them down. I don't know how you slow them down. And I don't know that Belichick has the personnel to do so.
So
unless he runs the ball with Michelle, White, Burkhead, Cam, if he runs the ball and they all 4 or 5 can put pressure on the defense of Kansas City by running the ball and keeping the ball out of Kansas City's hands, that's the only way you beat the Chiefs. You keep the ball out of their hands.
That's exactly how you beat the Chiefs.
But when they get the ball in their hands, they may score on one play. They're just that electric. They're that dynamic, and you can't bet it. They might. Now listen, man, this is I know it's a long season. You know what I'm getting ready to say too. They could possibly be the next undefeated team since the Patriots. I'm not saying they'll go undefeated and win the Super Bowl, but I'm saying regular season, they could quite possibly be the next one to do it this year.
They will not go undefeated. They will lose to the Chargers at home in a few weeks here.
The Chargers give them fits. They give them fits.
Always play the Chargers really bad. But Bill Belichick is a mastermind regular season coach, and he is going to play a vanilla defense, a vanilla offense, because he knows the Patriots are going to go to the playoffs. I mean, with the Patriots, how they are structured right now,
I'm not sure about that.
They're going to go into the playoffs. He is not sweating this game at all.
They still have to get past Buffalo. Buffalo's playing really swell right now, real well, and you never know what Miami's going to come up and do. They're probably out of the hunt, but you never know.
With the extra wild card seed, they are locked in there.
Okay. I can see that.
100%.
I keep forgetting about that extra wild card seed. I really do. I'm not used to it.
So with that being said, Bill Belichick is a great coach, and he will play the cards close to his vest. He will make you show you what he will make other teams show things that that they weren't intending to show you for the playoffs. Bill Belichick is the ultimate goal coach, and that's the ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl. Not like the Ravens and go 14-2 in the regular season and get beat in the first round. So with that being said, this could be an ugly game, or it could be really, really close. But I'm teetering on the side of a ugly game. I'm talking 42-21 is a final score, Chiefs on top, and we see the true colors of Cam Newton when they just get flat out whooped by the Kansas City Chiefs. And you guys can take the fandom out of it because I picked the Chiefs to lose to the Ravens and I picked the Chiefs to lose to the Chargers.
This pick is legit. Yeah, this is a legit pick. And I'll tell you this about Belichick, what he likes to do, and he can't do it with Kansas City because they just got too many weapons. What he likes to do is he'll take away your best options.
Right.
He'll take away your first two options, and he makes you go with your third, fourth, and beyond option, fifth, or whatever. And then he directs the defense towards them, and there's not much there with them. So the problem with Kansas City is they have so many weapons you cannot possibly, because one weapon is almost as good as another weapon.
Yeah, we have receivers on the bench that could start on other teams.
Yeah, and then you've got Mahomes, who is, I think he has now taken over the top quarterback spot in the NFL. If I had to rank quarterbacks, he would be number one. I think Russ Wilson would be number two, but I don't think there's any arguing from anyone that Mahomes is a number one quarterback in the NFL. He's just, and he's only going to get better. Right. As long as he stays injury free, right, he's only going to get better, man.
Now, moving on to the next game here, the next 425 games, you have the Buffalo Bills traveling to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Who do you got?
The
Raiders.
I'm going to take the Bills in this. I know it's a lot of travel, but I'm going to have to take the Bills in this. I just think their team is too good right now. The Raiders are building and they're doing well, but I don't think they have enough to beat Buffalo, even though Buffalo is traveling across America to get there. I don't think they have enough to beat Buffalo right now. Buffalo has great slot receivers, the little Cole Beasley. The guy he had a great week last week, and Vegas is not very good at covering the middle. So I'm going to take Buffalo in a landslide.
So I have been on this Raiders train for the last 3 or 4 years now. They're going to be really, really good or really, really, really bad. And this is a game that will tell people if they're really good or really bad. And I think they are a really good team this year. I think they are going to beat the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be a 21-20 score. They edge them on a last-second field goal, maybe a last-second touchdown. Either way, Carr is going to lead them down to a game-winning drive. Raiders win 21-20. Start Jacobs this week. He's going to get a lot of work on that Raiders running game. Start Jacobs.
Now I like Jacobs. I do like Jacobs. I like Buffalo's defense. That's a bold pick to pick the Raiders. It's really a bold pick. I don't really mind the pick, though, because Buffalo is traveling and Buffalo may be due for a bad game or a loss. But I just think right now I don't know that the Raiders defense has enough to do anything with Buffalo with the weapons they have and the way Josh Allen is playing.
And I actually got on my FanDuel app last night, and I did pick the Raiders to win outright, and the Bills are a 3-point favorite. So, and moving us to the Sunday night game, the final game of the night, you had the Eagles take on the 49ers. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the 49ers. Even though the 49ers are decimated, I'm going to take them because the Eagles are decimated also. And it's just the Eagles are on the field. They're kind of discombobulated right now. They're, can't quite figure the Eagles out. You don't know what Wentz is going to do. He has no weapons to be spoken of. And I'm going to say the 49ers are going to handle them pretty easily.
Yeah, and I am picking the 49ers to win this game as well. This is the beginning of the end for Carson Wentz in Philly. Guys, if Philadelphia Eagles go to 49ers and lose this week, it would not be surprised if we see Jalen Hurt, their backup quarterback come in and start to fall off the following week. Carson Wentz, I think time has worked his way out of the Philadelphia Eagles' hearts. And they're really questioning themselves, why do we get rid of Nick Foles at this point? So I'm picking the 49ers in this game, and that's just the way it is. And Triple Shot Sports comes back and says the Chiefs will beat the Patriots 35-27. And he also comes back and says, why is this a Sunday night game? Buffalo Vegas is a better than the Eagles win. Because if you think about this, when the schedule was made last season, the Eagles won that division. The 49ers were in the Super Bowl. This had all the makings of being a great Sunday night game. And it could still be a great Sunday night game. We could see a 28-27 type of score last second drive, or a defensive slugfest even, like, honestly, too. But if you are going to tell me that you saw the Raiders being the way they are right now, I'm going to call you a bluff. I mean, yes, the Bills were 10-6 last season, I think, maybe 11-5. But I like the Sunday night matchup, but I'm taking the 49ers in this game as well. But guys, that is going to be it for today's show. Mike and Mike Man Hour, guys, Monday through Friday, right here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Mike and Mike Man Hour, guys. Catch you guys Monday as we break down Sunday's matchups and break down the Monday night game as well. Man Hour, we out. Have a good day.